What does it actually mean to be a beginner? So these days I have been starting a lot of things for the first time. Like I recently set my own design studio, and I'm also trying to learn a lot of new things through online YouTube videos. I'm taking notes, experimenting stuff, and seeing how it's going to work out for me. And there are so many videos out there on what to do as a beginner, but barely anyone talks about how to be a beginner. So let's talk about that.
How long can you hold until your breath falls? It's been too long now.
What does it actually mean to embrace being new at something? To me, it's like staring at a blank canvas. You have got all these beautiful colors just sitting there, waiting for you to make something out of them. Yeah, it's exciting, but also kind of terrifying. Like, where do you even start? So, Paul Rand said it best: design is so simple, that's why it's so complicated. And honestly, that's exactly what being a beginner feels like. It looks so simple on the surface when you're starting something new, but the reality, it's messy, confusing, and full of uncertainty. So when you're a beginner, everything feels so raw and unpolished, like stepping into a room where nothing makes sense yet, and you are fumbling around trying to find your footing. And yeah, it's hard, but there's so much beauty in that. It's kind of like a poetry. There's something honest and real about not knowing all the answers. But let's be real for a second here. We are all terrified of looking stupid, of messing up, or being the person who doesn't know what they're doing. So here's the thing. Every master was once a beginner. You must have heard it. But let's think about it. Every famous designer that you know, like every iconic building and every timeless logo, it all started as a rough sketch, a bad idea, or a failed attempt. Nobody starts with perfection. They start with persistence. As beginners, we have got to learn to love those details, the tiny steps, the late nights figuring things out, the messy drafts. Those are the moments that build something bigger. So, one of the hardest parts about being a beginner is the noise. When I mean noise, what I mean is like social media. Social media can be so overwhelming. It's like walking into a gallery where everyone else work looks miles ahead of yours. I've been there scrolling for hours, watching creators with massive followings, thinking, how am I ever going to get there? But the thing is, comparison is the quickest way to kill your beginner joy. So I had to unfollow the noise. I started looking for creators who were just starting out, people whose journeys felt like mine. Their work wasn't perfect, but it was real. And that's where the magic is. Watching other beginners reminded me that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to stumble sometime. That's where the growth happens, right? Being a beginner is all about showing up, even when you don't feel ready. It's about making those mistakes, realizing they are part of the process, not a reason to quit. It's like planting a seed. You can't force it to grow overnight, and let time do its thing. Good design is as little design as possible, and maybe being a beginner is like that too. Stripping away all the extra pressure and just focusing on the basics: curiosity, patience, and persistence. Here's another thing I've learned: treat yourself like an intern. Think about it. If you had an intern starting out for the first time, you would not expect them to nail everything on day one. You would guide them, celebrate their progress, and give them room to learn. So, why don't we do that for ourselves? For me, that looks like setting small, realistic goals. Maybe it's trying out a new tool, or jotting down ideas in your notebook, or even tackling a design challenge that you might find online, and if it's intimidating. I have also started planning, but not in a rigid way. It's more like giving myself a roadmap with room for detours. I set monthly, weekly, and daily goals. Some days I hit them, other days I don't, and that's okay. But as long as I'm moving forward, even just a little, it's a win. And finally, create something every day. Not because you have to, but because you get to. Some days it'll feel amazing, other days it'll feel forced. But every piece you create, no matter how imperfect, is a step towards finding your voice. I think as designers, our work isn't just for us, it's also for the world we want to shape. So, here's my question for you: what's one thing you have been scared to start? Because every masterpiece, no matter how iconic, started as a single uncertain stroke.